This is a presentation on community-oriented policing. Community-oriented policing is considered the third era of policing in America. This was preceded by the professionalism era, which tried to make policing a very specialized field that focused on only certain things. This meant that certain aspects of the job, such as general peacekeeping and things that weren't rigidly focused on catching criminals and such, were excised or considered not official parts of the job. This was seen as being a very flawed approach by proponents of the community-oriented policing system because they felt that this could not meet the needs of a increasingly diverse population that was coming about in America and that changes needed to be made. Community-oriented policing is also known as problem-oriented policing. It seeks to ease tensions between the public and the police. This came about during the 1960s, which was a time where there were very hostile relations between the police and the public. During this time, you had things like the civil rights movement and Vietnam protesters, where a lot of police officers didn't display the best qualities that one would hope to see in law enforcement. This created a very negative view of the police in the public. This was an attempt to combat this, to create a more positive image of the police, and to create a new model for police behavior. In community policing, police officers are expected to, there's an increased focus on training and education for police officers. This means that they will hopefully be able to respond to situations in a much better, more nuanced way than they could have before. Hopefully they'll interact with the public in a way that won't cause the public to react negatively to them. This also means that they're going to be more involved in the community. If the public sees the police officers out there doing good, acting like normal people, helping them out, they're more likely to have a positive view of them and simply view them as oppressors, as bad people who show up to take people to jail. There are several examples of community-oriented policing at work. These often take the form of outreach programs. The Seattle Police Department has several different outreach programs that are used to put themselves out in the community and help the community see the police in a different light and in a positive way. One of these programs is known as the Living Room Conversations. In this program, officers will come together with neighborhood residents and they'll go to their homes and they'll have an informal, open dialogue and they'll discuss problems that are facing the community and these specific people. Another program they have are demographic advisory councils. These are meetings with representatives of the police department and different minority or underrepresented groups in general who might want to discuss certain concerns, special concerns that they have and their communities have that they feel that they feel that the police need to address in some way. Another program is building youth relationships. This gets the different police officers together with younger people who might be in the community and try to help them with different things, different issues, maybe mentor in certain capacities or things like that. This will help them have a positive view of the police at an early age and maybe even prevent them from committing criminal acts in the future. Finally, there's the Community Police Academy, which is a simple sort of academy which can go for anywhere from 10 weeks to a single day, depends on what they want to do. Basically, it is a program that is designed to help the community understand what police actually do and understand police work. Seminars can also be offered that will teach the people in the community various aspects of police work. The thing that all these programs have in common is that they're supposed to increase the trust that the community has with the police. In some way, all of them are meant to make the police look good or make police work make sense to people and have them view them in a more positive light so they're not afraid of the police. Some programs also have some preventative nature too. The Building Youth Relationships program, in addition to simply being good public relations, good stuff to do in the community, also can help young people, teenagers, view the police in a good way, and in so doing, maybe keep them from going down a path that would lead to crime or other bad behavior. Now, community oriented policing is extremely common, and most police departments have some community oriented programs that they use. This doesn't mean that it is perfect. This doesn't mean that there's no criticism that is leveled at it. In fact, some people have argued that it's not as effective as it could be. One of the biggest issues that plagues community-oriented policing is the question of whether it actually helps ease the public's fear of crime. Now, easing fear of crime is one of the main goals of community-oriented policing. Not just fear of the police, but fear of crime. You want to decrease the fear of crime. You don't want the public to constantly live in fear, to be worried about everything. So hopefully, if you increase the police presence, they'll feel better about how things are going. Some argue this isn't really effective, that it actually does the opposite of what it's intending to do. They argue that having an increased police presence means that people actually perceive crime to be a bigger problem than it actually is. The logic is that the more police there are, the public feels like they're there because there's this big problem. So the reason why you see police all the time is because there's all this stuff going on that they need to stop. And then they start to perceive that there's more crime than there is. Even though there's been a drop in crime. Crime's been on the decrease. People worry that it actually isn't. That it's just a cover. Or that the police are just trying to keep an eye on them and case them out and stuff like that. So these people would argue that it is not a perfect system and that this is a major issue with it. Now, community-oriented policing is not the end of policing. There's going to be more eras. Community-oriented policing, some argue, may even already have be on the way out as far as the dominant force in policing and law enforcement. A fourth era is being considered. Some people consider that the fourth era is already beginning, and this is known as the post-9/11 era. This places a heavy emphasis on security and counterterrorism measures. That this arose because of the terror attacks that took place on 9/11. And unfortunately, there is a increasing trend with more and more terrorist attacks, and people are very worried and afraid of that. And police work is going to have to reflect that. And more counterterrorism measures are going to have to be a part of policing from now on.